Good morning, everyone. We are delighted to be here again for the second part in our Exceeding Visitor Expectations series, brought to you, of course, online, but in partnership with ASVA, Visit Scotland, and our wonderful trainer, who is Catherine Bowie. The content that you'll hear today is taken from the already successful EVE training course, but of course coupled in with some practical advice for us all as we think about what operating a visitor attraction in post-COVID-19 world will look like. So hopefully you can take some really useful tips away with you today and have lots to think about. I am Angie Fowler. I'm one of the Regional Quality and Tourism Managers at Visit Scotland and have the great privilege of working alongside our Quality and Tourism advisors, who are the ones that deploy our visitor attraction grading scheme for quality assurance across Scotland. And yeah, we just want to welcome you today. ASVA members, ALVA members, you're all very, very welcome. And thanks as well. A lot of you did join us last week for part one, but don't worry if you didn't make it to that session. These are all going to be recorded and they'll be available to listen to afterwards. So do feel free to pass the link on to contacts or colleagues who might be interested and may have missed out today. That link will be on visitscotland.org within the next couple of days. So just as last week, we do envisage the presentation by Catherine to take around 30 minutes, maybe just over that, but then we will have time for questions at the end. And today we also have the CEO of ASVA, Gordon Morrison, online with us. So do ask any questions for him, for Catherine, or for myself at Visit Scotland. Feel free to type away the questions as we go. You'll see the questions tab in the control panel that you have on GoToWebinar. So if the wee orange red arrow at the top of your panel is pointing left, you'll have to click it once and then you'll see the full panel appear. Just go to the questions tab there and as I say, type away, and we will be with you at the end to answer those questions. So I'll now pass over to Catherine, who will start by giving us a short overview of the themes that she'll address today. So over to you. Thanks, Catherine.
Good morning, my name is Catherine Bowie and I'm delighted to bring you the second in our series of Exceeding Visitor Expectations webinar. Thanks very much to Visit Scotland and the Association of Scottish Visitor Attractions, and of course, welcome to Excellence for bringing it all together and making it happen. We will be, at the end of the seminar, at the end of the presentation, we'll be standing by to answer as many questions and to take comments. So I hope you enjoy the seminar and we'll speak to you later. The programme in front of you then demonstrates the 8 short units which are included in Exceeding Visitor Expectations. Last week we covered great experiences and identifying, meeting and exceeding visitor expectations. This week is all about what we can do then to deliver a high quality service. What does that look like? Offering a nice warm welcome, making your visitors feel brilliant and reassuring them in this post-lockdown landscape. What will it take? What kind of setting and maintaining of standards will we have to do? How can you reflect that in your 5-star service offering? What brilliant habits do you bring to the table? Working in that then also the review of your policies and your procedures, and working as a team, working as a really, really brilliant team and focusing on that internal customer service so that you're all in this together to help each other, but also to help that visitor so you can exceed their expectations. Unit 4 then discovers all about the importance of communication, delivering positive messages, always letting visitors know what you can do rather than what you can't do. Review of body language, which will change because of the social distancing, and communication skills. We'll talk about the smiling and the wearing of masks. Listening skills, are you actively listening or are you a passive or surface listener? And the very importance of answering questions and also asking open questions as opposed to closed. Keeping up standards on the telephone and also great email communication etiquette. So that's it for today. Let's move on to slide 3 now. Delivering a high quality service is our aim. That's what we are striving for. That's what this programme is all about. And it means then that we set a winning strategy. With excellent service, there are no losers. Visitors win, employees win, the attraction wins, the local area wins, Scottish tourism wins. Providing great service is a successful strategy for everyone. So aim high, make excellent service your goal. Let's consider what are the characteristics of people who offer excellent service. I firmly believe that excellence is a habit. It's a habit. Now, that's a quote from Aristotle. And I would like you to consider, what are your excellent habits when it comes to working with visitors and with your colleagues? Are you, for example, would you consider yourself always enthusiastic? Are you always punctual? Do you always come to work bringing the very best version of yourselves? Are you attractive to work beside? All of these questions are very important to do some serious navel gazing so that we can go back to work thinking, do you know what, I'm going to be the best that I can be and deliver the very best experiences to my visitors. We are known in Scotland for our warm welcome, and high levels of customer service should be offered at every stage of the visitor experience along with this warm welcome. And that really means starting from the pre-arrival planning stage, continuing through to arrival and departure. Creating a favourable first impression is vital, even at times when your attraction is very busy. Getting things wrong at this stage can result in people turning around and leaving. Visitors will notice. Visitors will notice if you are not being proactive. Visitors will notice if you don't want to be there. Visitors will notice the appearance. They'll notice the welcome that they receive. In visitor attractions, we're always being observed. And we know it only takes 7 seconds to form a first impression. And after that 30 seconds, that impression is set. It's very difficult to change a visitor's opinion if the initial contact creates a negative impression. Having considered then what we're going to be doing to create great first impressions, please also add into your planning, what can you do to create a great lasting impression in your attraction? It's an important part of the service journey because this is when people are consolidating their impressions and really thinking about what the whole visit was all about. So again, have members of the team standing at the exit points, asking the right questions. How was your visit? What were the best bits? Where are you heading off to now? Would you like me to download you some directions? Would you like to come back and see us for the exhibition that we're running later on in the year, etc.? I would say have a bank of interesting questions so you're still engaging with that visitor as they depart your attraction, and that really seals the whole visit for them. Section looks at what we can do to choose what we say and choose how we act. We can choose our behaviour. We can choose to go to work in a negative mood, or we can choose to go to work in a positive mood. And behaviour breeds behaviour. It's essential that we are positive and that we choose that. First of all, it is more motivational. It's much better for people around you, your team members, and also the visitors. But also, when we're positive, then we create that energy and that dynamism, and it also helps with our motivation. Visitors to an attraction will also want their practical needs met. They will want reassurance. For example, when they're buying tickets, or they want to feel good about each service encounter, so it gives them positive emotions. So that they feel happy, that they're delighted, that they're amazed, that they are excited, that they're amused by what we do. So to deliver truly excellent service, it's necessary to be sensitive to people's positive and negative emotions. Visitors will want to feel positive as a result of contact with you. That's what customer service is. 50% of this is how we make people feel. Visitors will want to be reassured that you've understood their needs and can meet them, and also you've understood their worries. They will want you to feel valued. They will want you to make them feel valued and appreciated, and will have confidence in you and the decisions that you help them to make. They will also want you to stay calm and avoid stress. That's very important, that we make them feel that it's a nice, calm area and that they can have an enjoyable experience and be treated as special. All attractions operate with a legal framework and have policies, procedures and standards that are relevant to delivery of service to visitors. So these can include policies that relate to the organisation, such as health and safety and security, or policies that relate to people, such as complaints and staff behaviour, or operational procedures for activities such as answering telephones, responding to emails, and standards such as those for greeting customers and offering assistance. Now, these policies and procedures and standards will be altered in line with the accordance of our guidelines. For example, the social distancing. Again, with the planning stages, what policies and procedures are you going to change at your attraction so that when we do open up later on this season, that we are ready and can be reassuring and give a warm welcome, bearing in mind what we've been through. Now, a Visit Scotland Quality Tourism Advisor will look for examples of a proactive and responsive attitude. So simply, that could mean that we come from behind our desk to welcome visitors into our attraction. Anticipation of guest needs or visitor needs, again, if it's raining outside, we step up and we offer umbrella trays or umbrella sleeves so that the umbrellas don't leak all over the attraction. Or the offer of unprompted assistance. We see somebody arriving with somebody in a wheelchair and we open doors for them. Or we see somebody with a child coming to our coffee area and we automatically put up a high chair. Little things that make a big difference, but that demonstrate that we want to offer this 5-star service. We know that we can't do this on our own. It's essential to work as an effective team. However, effective teamwork doesn't just happen. We know that. It needs everyone to, first of all, to commit to achieving the team goals, to communicate with team members, to cooperate with other members of the team, to consider and respect other people's views, to contribute to creating these great experiences, to connect with staff, with volunteers, as well as with visitors, to coordinate activities so that everyone knows what's going on, to collaborate with other teams, and also to coach new team members. Exceeding visitor expectations, part of this course is a very strong message delivered here. Your colleagues, your team members, are your internal customers, and the service that you provide to them is just as important as the service that you provide to visitors. It's really great when we establish these excellent relationships with our team members and build that rapport. The visitors feel it when they come in. They don't want to sense any hostility or tension. So we're asking you to think about what you can do to improve your team's performance. What action can you personally take to bring to your team? It could be in lockdown that you have decided to learn a new language and you want to share some of that with your team. Or it could be that you've studied particular artifacts in more detail, and again, you want to share that knowledge with your team. Or it could be that in lockdown that you've got some really good ideas for being creative with the educational team, for example, and that you decide to bring that to the team. So ask yourselves, what do I contribute to the team? What do I bring to the table? And how effective a team member am I? We're all in this together. Communication is at the heart of engaging, inspiring and connecting with visitors at an attraction. We communicate through our website, our social media activities, our telephone conversations, our emails, our signage, our notices, and talking to visitors. And we're going to have to be communicating our coronavirus regulations clearly. We're going to have to communicate our general standards to reassure the public that we have followed instructions on hand washing and face masks. We're going to have to ensure that the public know that our personnel, our team members have been trained, and also that we know about the social distancing. So what we do is we communicate all day long. Now, I'd like you to be thinking, are there any improvements that you could make to your communication, do you think? Are there any in the website or in the way that you communicate some of the messages? Important to be accurate, brief and concise, but also to deliver messages in a way that resonate well with visitors, that when we deliver a message that people want to still listen to us rather than feel as if we're telling them what to do and how to do that. As we communicate with our visitors, we want the message to be landed well and squarely in an elegant way. And much of that is done from, as you can see from the slide, our verbal, our vocal, and also our non-verbal communication. The words that we choose are only worth 7%, so very important that we choose positive words. We'll look at that in a minute. Vocal communication to keep our tone upbeat. But body language, you can see here, is a whopping 55%. So when we're planning our strategy, when we're planning the new standards for going into visitor attractions after lockdown, how are we going to welcome our guests in a warm way? We will probably be wearing face masks, which means that our smile will not be seen. So I would like you to start practicing what is known as the smize, really using your eyes to generate that warmth of welcome. That's going to be vital. Throughout the sessions, we've talked about being positive, and this is really important that we use positive words and phrases instead of negative language. So always letting a visitor know what they can do in front of what they can't do. We're very good at telling people what they can't do, but it really is much more constructive to tell people what you can do. And to use language like definitely, my pleasure, delighted to help you, let's sort this out, you're welcome. Following on from that slide, trying to negate then the negative words and phrases that might have crept into our vocabulary as a habit. Oh, unfortunately, we're closed. Unfortunately, you can't go into that room. With all due respect, could you please stand back? If you just let me finish, no problem, no worries. All of these expressions can sound very authoritarian and negative, so we would ask you to try and eradicate them from your business vocabulary. We recognise that it's not what we say, it's the way that we say it. So checking up on our tone of voice, do we still sound as if we're animated? Do we still sound motivated? Are we pronouncing words clearly? Are we speaking at a level that's easy for people to follow? Is the volume high enough, low enough? Are we smiling as we speak? Whether you're on the telephone or face to face with a visitor, it's important, particularly when we're wearing a mask, because that will come through in our tone of voice. Part of great welcome and great communication, please use open questions to encourage visitors to share information with you. It helps us to establish their needs and their wants, and it gets them engaged from the very beginning of the service experience. So, what can I do for you today? How are you? Where do you come from? Nice open questions to get the interaction moving and to start building rapport. The best way to understand visitors and to identify their needs is to listen to them. However, it can be challenging to listen to people all day long, and as a result, we use different levels of listening. When we are tired or bored, or when we assume that we know what the customer is about to say, we use passive listening skills, which is quite obvious. We look out the window or we don't engage. We can go up a level to what's known as surface listening skills, which looks a little bit more that you're engaging. You might be using eye contact, but you're not fully there. You're thinking about other things. To exceed visitor expectations, one of the biggest things that we can do is to offer our active listening skills. And this means that we don't interrupt. It means that we show interest. It means that you really check the understanding, that you're focused, that you're using eye contact at all times, you're keeping an open mind, you're asking questions, and you're summarizing at the end of the conversation. You're reflecting back the content. So here's a few questions for you. How good are your listening skills? Question 1, do you ever try to carry on with another task at the same time? Question 2, do you ever assume you know what someone is going to say at the start of the conversation? Question 3, find that your mind is wandering onto unrelated issues? Question 4, interrupt before the person has finished speaking? Question 5, have to ask the person to repeat the remarks? Question 6, Find it hard to concentrate on the conversation? Question 8, jump to conclusions about what the other person wants. Question 9, make it difficult for the other person to get a word in. Or question 10, become bored and try and speed the conversation up. So you can see that active listening is not just a function, it's a skill. It's a skill that we really have to invest in so that our visitors recognise that we're investing in them by properly listening to them and recognising their needs and their wants. The telephone is a very important part of our communication with our visitors. So what sort of tips can we offer you then to ensure again that you can exceed visitor expectations on the telephone? Well, remember, you can't use body language to help convey your message. Other callers might not be able to tell if you're smiling. So provide an interested, warm and personal approach. Be efficient and professional when answering the telephone, and don't let yourself get distracted or try to undertake another task at the same time. It always comes across. Remember to act as an ambassador for your attraction and keep pen and paper at hand so you can take notes and give reliable, accurate and clear information. Similarly, with emails are really vital that we respond very quickly and that you set that in your standards. Remember that people are planning at the moment, so the quicker that we respond to them either by telephone or by email, the better chance that we will have of securing their visit later on in the season. So email etiquette, I've mentioned it before, be accurate, brief and concise, use positive language, use the name, write as if you were talking with that visitor and try and give them a little bit more information than they were looking for. Something, a little snippet of information. It could be something about your area, or it could be offering them your directions proactively, or it could be suggesting to them that they bring a picnic because your food outlet isn't operational. The end of the email is very important as well. We're still saying, please do not hesitate to contact us. It's a very clunky message. So refrain from using negative language. Keep your email and telephone communication nice and light, nice and friendly, nice and welcoming, and that will reflect the whole level of the service that we've talked about throughout this session. So let's just recap on what we've talked about today. We've looked at how to deliver high quality service and the characteristics of a high quality service. We've then also looked at what to do to create great first impressions and to create great lasting impressions. Then we moved on to your positivity and your attitude and the behaviours that you can choose to display with visitors. And then we looked at your standards and how to put standards in place that are going to reflect the new normal, as we're calling it. We then closely looked at your communication skills. We picked up on words, on vocal, and on some body language tips, and the phrases that we should be using. Then we talked a lot about open question techniques and using your fine listening skills and reflecting that also in your telephone and email etiquette. So that's the end of this second session. We'll be available for questions, and I look forward to being with you again on the 21st of May. We'll run the third and the last session talking about how to engage and inspire visitors and how to deal with tricky situations. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I feel like we could all watch that over 2 or 3 times because it's even that negative words and phrases slide is so challenging. I feel like we can tend to use some of those phrases every single day without really thinking about it. So it's definitely going to be worth the reminder for us going forward. And yeah, that proactive and thoughtful service is exactly what the quality and tourism advisors do look for when they're out and about before they even think about awarding 5-star scores. So yeah, really important. Thank you so much for your time that you give to us so generously and sharing your experience with us. So everyone, now is the perfect moment to get your questions in. We already have some. coming through, which is great. And as I said before, we've got the Chief Executive of ASVA with us now online, Gordon Morrison. I'd shared with Gordon some of the questions that were coming through last week, and I thought actually it would be a great chance for him just to address some of those recurring themes with us just now. So Gordon, I'll pass over to you, and let's hear what advice that you've got for us.
Thanks very much indeed, Angie, and a very good morning, everyone. Great to see so many people on this webinar this morning, and a big thank you to Catherine for her contribution so far. Yeah, a few questions that came through last week that I just wanted to pick up on, because I was on the webinar, but I was unable to speak on the webinar at that stage. So firstly, there were a lot of questions about reopening guidelines, reopening policies, etc. I just wanted to make it clear that ASVA are working alongside the Scottish Tourism Emergency Response Group, which includes Visit Scotland, it includes the Scottish Government, Scottish Tourism Alliance, etc., UK Hospitality, to get detailed guidelines produced for the visitor attraction sector. There is a lot of information out there already, and I know a lot of people have come up with their own guidelines for reopening. ASVA, for example, have recently sent out the IAPA guidelines for reopening across the membership. What I would just like to reassure everyone is that once guidelines are made up that are universal for our sector, we will be distributing them across our network. So you're not going to miss out on the guidelines when they're produced. We will be making sure they get sent out across the membership. I'm conscious, well, you may be aware that Visit Britain are producing a kite mark for consumers that shows that attractions and other venues are safe to visit. The idea is that this kite mark will be produced across the UK, but I believe there's work going on with the various different agencies in the UK to get that produced. There's some challenges around who's going to accredit it, whether it's going to be self-accreditation, etc. So you may have seen some news about that. Watch this space, I suppose is what we'd say. It's likely that something will be produced that is UK-wide, but we don't quite know when that is going to be produced as yet, or how it's going to work. But again, through both ASVA and Visit Scotland, we will keep you posted with information about that. The next question that I know was asked by a number of people last week was around pricing and discounting. There's some pressure from certain groups to discount your visitor attraction experiences. I've spoken to a number of members about this. I'll be very clear on this point. This is not the time to be discounting your experiences. It is highly likely that you'll be opening your attractions with limited capacity because social distancing will be in place. So you have to maximise your income rather than offer discounts. You may have seen the survey conducted by our friends at Alva, who did a consumer sentiment survey, which said that 85% of consumers are fully expecting to pay the same, if not more, when they visit an attraction again. So this is definitely not the time to be looking at discounting. In fact, I would say it's a time to be looking almost the other way. There's an opportunity coming when we do reopen to look at providing perhaps a more bespoke tour, a bespoke experience, a personalised experience for your visitors that could actually be charged at a premium. You could offer a standard package and a premium package, but we would definitely urge you not to go down the discounting route. It is a false economy to do that. And then the final question that came in last week was around concerns about benefiting from the crisis by charging for new things. I think what was mentioned was face masks at the time. I think it's quite important that we obviously don't look like we are benefiting from a crisis, but we have to identify new income streams here because we're going to need to make money when we reopen. And I think there's a huge opportunity to look at what you can upsell out of the crisis. So if it is face masks that are needing to be provided, I would recommend you provide some free face masks, but then you could also do a branded face mask for the attraction, for example. Kind of like your standard bag versus tote bag type model. If you are not able to put on a food offering, you might want to welcome visitors to bring their own picnics. Well, then you could charge something like, you could sell picnic rugs or cutlery or whatever it might be. So definitely something to consider, which is actually be a good service offering really, as well as a financial benefit for you. So that's just a few points covered from the last session. Back to you, Angie.
Thank you, Gordon. And yes, a question came through in on that last point that you made about maybe some ideas about how to maximize income level, given the restrictions that attractions will likely have on visitor numbers. That question came with maybe a wee idea as well, having a sort of car park drive-through set up with takeaway cafe food could be an idea as well. So definitely time to get creative, and also time to think of that bespoke experience offering that people will want to pay more for. I'd heard a term last week about bubble tourism. You know, there's chat of people traveling around and in their close family and friend groups. So how can you cater to those smaller bubbles, maybe rather than larger group tours and things like that, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point, Angie. And I would just also say, you mentioned the car parks there. Outdoor spaces are going to be important here. So I would urge any attractions with some form of outdoor space to think about how they can maximise that space and turn it into a money maker for them, definitely.
Fantastic. Catherine, perhaps one for you, and maybe some ideas that our listeners are looking for. How can we get up from behind desks, for example, to welcome visitors if we've got screens and things like that installed to protect staff? I'm thinking along the lines of perhaps signage, welcome banners, staff waving, things like that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Catherine?
I suppose, thanks, Angie. I suppose it really depends on the space that's available to you. We're going to be using a lot of these screens, and they will, for people with disabilities, which we're going to be looking at later on, that will be an issue. So we'll have to work out what we can do to help our visitors with disabilities, to come round and to assist them. But bearing in mind the social distancing, we're still working on it. I've noticed that there are some masks being created, for example, with plastic mouth inserts, so people can still see if you're lip reading. So there's a lot of work to be done on this, Angie. I don't have all the questions at the moment. I think that my main objective there was just to demonstrate that pre-activity, and that we don't just get stuck behind desks, because that's the easy thing to do, that we still are available and accessible to our visitors within the restrictions that we're working with. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yes, and I think it is a time for us to be creative and outward looking. I'd seen in the past week as well a plastic mask that has been created for the likes of speech therapists, that they can still work safely. And I thought, wow, that would be great for us in the visitor attraction sector to be able to see smiling as we would normally be able to welcome guests that way. Just to draw everyone's attention to the slide that's up just now, again, you can take this away as a handout. If you go to the handout tab in the GoToWebinar screen there, you can take these links for yourself, some great advice on everything to do with COVID-19 funding, support, policies, information coming through there. That page is always being updated, as well as a link to our visitor attraction guidance notes for the quality assurance scheme. And of course, my contact details. Do feel free to get in touch. We do have a seminar next week, of course, the third part of the webinar series for exceeding visitor expectations. That is going to be at 11 o'clock next Thursday, so same time. And the link to sign up for that will be coming out through your Alva newsletter as normal. But of course, any issues at all, feel free to get in touch directly with me. And we are always looking for ways to help with your decision making and forward planning at the moment. I just wanted to open up an opinion poll to you, or a question poll like I did last week. Of course, we're thinking of the world of online booking. booking experiences? Can visitors plan in advance? Can you help control the visitor numbers going to come into your attraction? And so do you have an online booking system that you work with currently? And if not, you know, perhaps we're looking forward to researching into what that might look like for you in future. And just to let you know, on June the 18th, we are going to host an online webinar again, and the theme will be online booking for experiences. That's going to be by Visit Scotland, and we'll get the information out to you on that webinar through our channels. So if you're interested in learning more about online booking for experiences, we have much more to tell you in this realm. Great to see that a lot of you do have an online booking platform that you're working with already. And for those on the search, yeah, we're here to help. So thanks for answering that poll there. Just another quick question, and again, something to think about for the here and now, for what your attraction looked like a few months ago. Do visitors book specific time slots to come and visit you? And if not, you know, is that something that you could facilitate going forward? Is that a way that you could help reassure your visitors that they're not going to arrive alongside a crowd? Is that something that you can think about going forward? So great to get your input here on whether these things are in place in your attractions already, or if it's something that you'd like more advice on. We'll gather up the questions from today, anything else that's come through in the past few minutes, we'll gather up these and address them next week. We've also been able to get in touch with a few delegates directly with answers to the questions that they put in. So do feel free to get in touch directly if you would like to request any specific advice at this time. We're all here to help. So thank you again today to Gordon Morrison, to Catherine Bowie, and I've been Angie Fowler from Visit Scotland. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.